Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock on November 17th. I can get our meeting started. We could do a quick roll call. I am Michael Soares, Chair of the Commission. We also have our Secretary, Chad Rittenhouse, seated members, Quentin Kessel, Aaron King, our alternate, who will be seated tonight, I believe, right? Yeah. Miranda Davis, and staff, our staff liaison, Jennifer Kaufman. So we can go through we have a number of minutes. Just for everybody's reference, under 2A, those are two separate pieces, Jennifer? I think we have our regular meeting minutes, and then there's some notes in there. So the notes, I don't think we need to really vote on per se, right? They're just here for us to review. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they get. Yes.
Okay. Hey, Aaron.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
Okay. Hi, Meg. Okay. So if we could take a look at just let me pull back for a sec on Robert's rules and all that. If Miranda is seated and then people show up, do we then unseat Miranda?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you were early though, so you get points for whatever it's worth. Okay, so we can look at our minutes if anybody has any amendments. I only had like two kind of spelling, or maybe it's just like format questions on the second page.
on the 1019.
So yeah, our meeting minutes from October 20th, the regular meeting minutes.
Are those the one I took? No.
No, just there. In the list of documents for item B on the top of page 2, if they split the word watershed into 2 words, I wasn't sure if the document was titled that way, or if it should be watershed, or it is water and shed.
No, it's watershed, and I might have had it that way, Chad, when I did the insert, because I think Chad cut and pasted probably from the agenda.
Yeah, and the formatting will automatically separate words now. It's really aggressive on fixing what it thinks is mistakes, or that's my new word, is always fixing things when it shouldn't be fixed. So that was the only comment I had.
So if you'd like me to revise the minutes, can you point me to I'm in the 20th of October minutes. Is it under item B?
On the second page under item B, it's it's not a big deal. It's the 4th one down in that list of documents under B.
Yeah, my end, it's all one.
Oh, really?
Watershed or aquifer area, but etc. And it's all one word mashed together.
Huh. I wonder if when we changed it to a PDF, if that did that by accident. I don't know.
Okay, well, mine has water and shed as 2 separate words, but
it's nice that there's 3 different versions of this.
right, so,
Okay.
It doesn't change the substance of it, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Well, I've got the Word document open from when it was submitted. So I'll just make sure that what I submit as final copy is what it should be.
All right, thanks. Any other comments or suggested changes? All right, none. I'm going to make a motion to approve the minutes as written, or as amended, rather. Anyone?
Sure, so moved.
Thank you, Quentin. We have a second. Aaron seconds, thank you. Is anybody opposed, or otherwise I'll assume we're voting unanimously to approve? No opposition, okay. Any abstentions? No, okay. So that motion passes unanimously. We can review these notes. I mean, the notes from 1019 are, I believe, just the, this was the field trip to
regarding the Abbott property and CMC.
Okay, was that one that I was trying to get to and I missed? I don't remember this.
Yeah, I
piece.
think you were unable to make it.
And then item B is just our earlier Conservation Commission, our easement monitoring rather from back in September that we didn't get to review the last meeting. And then item C is our most recent easement monitoring visit. Yeah. So any comments or additions that people want on those? No.
So the minutes will reflect that the commission recognizes the notes from the special meetings on September 25th and November 7th, and from the field trip on October 9th.
Thank you, Chad. Don't think we have any other or any public here for comment, or do we have anything written that was sent to you, Jennifer?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we can go into, we want to do 4 first, or we want to restructure a bit to get to new business first, Jennifer, or?
If that's up to you. I mean, I'm sure Mr. Bruckner would appreciate it if we moved his agenda item up.
Yeah,
So-
I think we have to make a motion to do that. So let me make a motion that we move we juggle this a bit and go down to 5B to address this new business. Can I get a second on that? Thank you, Meg. Anybody opposed to that? Or we can assume everybody's in favor of jumping ahead? Okay, good. So, okay, item 5B, this is application W1624 from H&C Bruckner for repair of an existing culverted driveway at an Eagleville Brook crossing on their property, which is 439 North Eagleville, and also serves 441 North Eagleville, I believe. So Jennifer, how would you like, do you want to describe, or would you like to turn it straight over to the applicant?
Well, I think what I'll do is I'm going to bring up your project description, Christian, because it does a great job of talking about what you're proposing. So, and then if you wouldn't mind just walking us through, can everyone see? I'm going to start with I'll start with the pictures here, and then Christian, if you would like to just kind of walk us through what's happening.
Thanks for moving this item ahead in your schedule, and thanks in general for spending your evening here and doing all of this. This is amazing. So what we are looking here in these pictures are the car is parked right as it's exiting onto North Eagleville Road. And so our driveway from North Eagleville Road onto our property, and that property of 441 North Eagleville Road, it's a shared driveway, goes a little bit down and crosses after about 60, 80 or so feet North Eagleville Brook. Past summer, the 2 existing culvert pipes that were there were overtaken by the rainstorms. The driveway was washed out. The material between the culverts was washed away, and the culverts were displaced. So in other words, just filling it back up with gravel wouldn't fix the issue of the displaced and evidently undersized culvert pipes. So there is this picture of these 2 culvert pipes. One cannot really see how badly they are now displaced, and they are made out of 2 pieces that are each also displaced now against each other. So in multiple directions, it shifted. The gravel that you see now on top, we just put back on to repair it. There was a big gouge between the 2 pipes. The pipes were half exposed after the washout. So the proposed project is to so there are 3 options to repair this: is either new culverts, culvert pipes, a box culvert, or a bridge. Pipes we dismissed because there is not enough vertical space to put in significantly larger pipes. A box culvert is moving quite a bit of earth and is turns out to be probably more costly and less beautiful than a bridge spanning the entire brook that is then restored to in as natural as possible conditions. And the idea is to have a fairly long bridge, 32 feet, spanning this 13-foot brook, with two bridge heads installed well outside of the brook bed. They're going to be installed sequentially while we still use the bridge or the crossing. And then once the two bridge heads were built, then the driveway gets closed. All the material gets removed from the center, the banks get restored, and then a flatbed comes in and brings in the bridge that gets then lifted into place. And it is here this vehicular bridge. It's a highway HS20 bridge, so it's also used for regular one-lane highway roads. Has this HS20 loading capacity, meaning any truck that is allowed to be on the road can cross. So we would have not a problem with oil delivery or a cement truck coming up to the houses or gravel delivery or something like this. So this is the bridge. So it's about 2 feet deep, and has this low barrier on the edges. So that's the project. What questions can I answer?
Would you also describe the construction sequence, Christian? And let's see, I think it's written out. Oh,
Yeah, it's they're on the right, bottom right. They're on the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the construction sequence takes into account that we need to use the driveway while construction is ongoing, because this is literally our own sole access to the houses. And so the existing pavement gets cut out, and then prefabricated concrete blocks will be installed and filled with gravel, compacted. Then a piece of concrete gets put on top that has all the proper recesses for to accommodate the bridge. Once that is done, a plunge pool will be constructed. A cofferdam will be installed. The water gets then pumped around the bridge or the crossing. Then the middle piece gets taken out. The old pipes get disposed of. The excess material gets removed. Then the bridge gets lifted into place, and then all the disturbed earth will be then loamed and seeded. We expect relatively little of the embankment to be disturbed outside of the immediate crossing area. Construction vehicles and so will remain entirely on the road, because it's on a fill, and it drops off to the right and to the left quite a bit. So it's not that excavator also could drive off the driveway to do anything.
And then there was a question about the material that what you would be doing with the excess material that someone asked on the field trip. Do you want to just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have an area a little bit further close to the house that used to be a large gash in the landscape. This is where they took the material 40 years ago. So when they built the driveway, and I have been filling this up with all wood chips and whatever I could find over the years. And I would love to be able to stabilize this with the gravel and the riprap that we filled in now and that will be taken out, so that we have a emergency parking area in the winter. Our house is up on a hill and there's a fairly steep driveway, and we often get stranded at the bottom of the driveway. And we would, we discovered it is closer than 150 feet away from the next wetland, and we would need to do this in a proper fashion.
All right.
Thank you, Christian. Does anybody have any questions or things they've just wanted to clarify or follow up on?
Yeah, I was just wondering, it did say that it is within one of the NDDB blobs. So has the applicant submitted to DEEP to find out what those species are, or is that in progress? I see Jennifer saying that.
So that's not something we discussed, Christian, but I was thinking about that as I came in, and I think I'll work with you tomorrow to do that determination. We can, when I'm talking with the IWA, I can condition the permit on doing the construction sequence for that to protect the species. So basically, Christian, the NDDB is the Natural Diversity Database. It's managed by DEEP, and so Eagleville Brook is within an area we call the blob map. So there's some sort of species that they've identified. So what you'll do is you'll submit a form to DEEP. They'll tell you what the species are in the general vicinity and what steps to take during construction to mitigate any kind of impact to those species.
Yeah, we'll be happy to. Yeah, I saw that it was listed, but I couldn't find any further information as to what species ought to be taken consideration of.
Yeah, they might.
Yeah, I just know for the agbotic, like I think it took the state like 6 months to get that report back. So I guess that was my.
I'm
I
hoping
know
that
that we usually incorporate recommendations, but if we don't have them, then yeah.
Yeah, I hope it goes a little faster than that, but
it might not. Any other questions for Christian or Jennifer?
I have one that was raised during the field trip about as part of the disposition of the fill from the current structure was also a mention that concrete was going to be used to stabilize the riprap in the new construction. And so I don't know that that issue can be resolved without talking to the engineer for the project or the town's engineer, but I'll note in the minutes that a question was asked about if the concrete is necessary.
Jennifer, if you can, if you bring up the construction drawing again, it's clear where the concrete is going to be going and where the brook bed itself will be restored to as natural environment as possible. It's the embankment to the right and the left under the bridge that is proposed to be there. You see to the right and to the left. So the center part is the modified riprap 6 to 12 size stone, and it just loose stone. And to the right and to the left, it's 18-inch thick riprap, 12 to 18 size stone, set even with stope and fill interstitial spaces with concrete. And I was wondering whether that is really needed. I would have preferred it to be not filled. And that was something I was wondering whether you had any opinion on this, but then we realized it is maybe a structural issue.
I did speak with our assistant town engineer very briefly. He didn't have the plans in front of him. But I do think it's something you'd probably want to check in with your engineer, and then he can kind of also look at it, but I think we'd want to have, I'm not sure he'd want to make that kind of recommendation. We'd want to have it come from your engineer, just because it could be a structural issue, and we
Yeah.
certainly don't want to be liable for something like that.
Yeah. No, I will double check with him, and then if possible, if there is no concern about any washout or structural issues, I would prefer to amend the plan such that the fill does not take place.
You mean the concrete or the fill up?
Oh, the fill of the interstitial spaces
Okay.
with the concrete. I'd rather have that just natural stone.
Sure.
From a habitat or sort of a ecological point of view, I would say, you know, in my experience, they can usually use, if the stone is large enough, it might be structural, or it might just be to keep the stone armoring that area more permanent. But in my experience, if the stones are large enough, then they will not, they don't require the concrete. But that's more from not an engineering comment. And I would say the same for the stream bed. The comment in the plans here is 6 to 12 inch size stone of modified riprap. To really mimic the habitat that's up and downstream, I would say to try to possibly use some of the stone that's coming out of your out of the culvert, and everything that's coming out is, you probably have plenty of 6 to 12 inch and even larger stone that could be used to make a more natural stream bed rather than riprap.
That riprap, yeah, that would have been my preference, and this was the whole idea behind having a bridge, right? And then a restoration of the brook to an as natural as possible state. And to me, the brook bed will, I guess, fill up and get mixed in with natural finer stone or so relatively quickly. But the edges, I think, or the banks, it didn't look as natural as I had hoped it would be.
Mhm.
I'll double check with the engineer.
Christian,
And
I had
if
another
possible, I would then request an amendment of that plan to whatever is recommended that doesn't require concrete.
And that's fine, Christian. Just if you get me that amended plan, that's what I will reference in my approval to the inland wetlands agency.
Okay.
So there is time to do that. Yep. And then you also should get me the plan with where you're going to be putting the material in the upland review area, and we can include that as
I
well.
will get that.
And Christian, I just had two more things to follow up on. If you could also I think you did mention the erosion and sediment controls, but if you could just quickly mention or describe the plunge pool that will be used.
Yeah, so there is a drawing where the plunge pool will be placed. So here's the plunge pool detail, but the plunge pool placement is, there it is. So downstream from the current crossing is a steep area with very large rocks, and that's where they're going to install a plunge pool where the water that gets pumped out from in front of the cofferdam gets pumped into, and then it overflows into the downstream side of the brook. And so hopefully that will control a lot of the sediments that will collect in the plunge pool. And then other sedimentation controls are the standard filter fabrics that will be raised all over, the little fabric fences that will be raised around the construction site.
Oh, the silt fence.
The silt fence, yes.
And as far as you know, the plunge pool will be sort of decommissioned after the bridge is installed, and they don't need to bypass the structure.
That is correct. My expectation is that it will be then restored to the condition it is in right now. You know, just these very large boulders that are there.
Thank you. And I just had one more question about the abutments for the bridges. In the page before this, if we could scroll up to that page, it's an unusual abutment. I haven't seen sort of like an open box structure. Am I interpreting it correctly? It's sort of two vertical walls that hold a flat concrete piece on
Correct.
top?
My understanding is that the boxes will be filled.
Okay. Do you have an idea of the footprint of that box?
8 foot long, 6 foot wide, 4 foot high. It's these precast concrete retaining wall units. The dimensions are listed in the construction drawing we're looking at underneath there.
Okay, so that'll need to be an excavated hole slightly larger than those dimensions.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Correct. And then the fill, yeah, I'm surprised. The fill is not specified here, but it is my understanding that it gets filled. It doesn't sit empty. And these are prefab standard pieces that one can purchase. We had no problem sourcing them.
Okay. And so the bridge is 16 feet wide. Am I right?
That's correct.
But the abutments are only 8 feet wide?
There are two of those that sit next
There's
to
two
each
of them,
other.
okay.
So it's not overhanging. The entire bridge gets supported. And then there is this reinforced concrete bearing pad that gets put on top, and it gets poured. So that's not, and you wouldn't be able to pour it if the box underneath is empty.
Right.
And then as they are pouring this, they are putting the anchors required for the bridge into that poured slab. And then as they put down the bridge, it gets then married with the anchors and screwed down.
Are you going to need to do any additional driveway work once they're done, I'm guessing, to kind of match your asphalt grade to the new bridge?
I think it will be minimal. It will be the excess they cut away of the blacktop between the end of the bridge and where they started the excavation for the concrete retaining walls or the units. So I expect that it will be maybe 6 feet before and after or something like this.
Okay, I'm not trying to digress too much, just trying to understand kind of some of the potential materials or work that could impact the brook right there. But
yeah, and when we are talking about depositing any of the material where I want to stabilize this area at our driveway, I'm not going to be depositing a blacktop or any of that. I just want to have the natural stone that's there or the riprap. The smaller riprap, really the coarse one, if it's underneath is fine, but I want to have an area that is pleasant to look at and easy to drive on.
Thank you. I appreciate the description at the field trip earlier, and then all the follow-up here. It's and a lot of great pictures to really very clearly see what's being proposed, and some of the sketches are also been really helpful. Good. Does anybody have any further comments, or would somebody like to make a motion and we can discuss further? I will make a motion. There are certainly, I think this is likely to not have a significant impact if, as usual, proper erosion and sedimentation controls are followed. I think there's a couple of points here I would like to make. One is we talked about it at the field trip, just that, when the time of year is important, not only to the height of water, but also to any species that are identified by NDDB. And also proper E&S up at the other location. And just the other thing I would say is, of all the choices that the applicant could make to invest in this crossing, this is probably the best version in terms of aquatic passage and hydraulic capacity, and then just aesthetics. I mean, it's a really there's a lot of care being put into the design of how to do this and minimize impact and maintain a natural, it actually improve the channel in this immediate area. That was a bit of a ramble. I don't know if anybody has anything to clarify there or add to. Or just wants to second it and we can talk more. Meg, thank you for seconding. So that's just sort of off the top of my head. Anybody have anything else to add? No?
Thought you covered it well.
Okay. Chad, is that cogent? That memo, is that motion rather? Is that
Yes.
motion?
Sorry, my keyboard's loud, so I try to mute myself. Yeah, so I think I captured the motion, and also notes consider the timing of the project for water flow and minimal NDDB impacts.
Okay. Was that, because you were at the field trip, Chad, is there anything I'm missing in our motion?
I think you're good.
Okay.
If I may add, thanks for recognizing that we put in some thoughts as to how we could do this best. Why you may not see more of these type of projects is the local builders seem to be entirely unfamiliar with this. So we have gotten only suggestions of massive concrete bridges, or everybody wants to put in these precast culverts, right? The box culverts,
Boxes.
Yeah.
which really surprised me, right? It's and I don't know why there is no tradition of having lightweight bridges, but there isn't, and it's going to be a first for a lot of the builders that are involved. And it was really surprising how hard it was to find somebody who would willing to entertain this and draw it up, or even come up with the confidence of saying, yeah, I can make a plan for this.
Well, we can direct them to your application, because I have a feeling there's going to be quite a few failed culverts coming up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. we're
Yeah,
gonna be-
and
we're gonna be
it's-
returning to it.
Anyways, I learned something in the process.
Even small bridges like this are not economical. I'd say that's maybe one of the drivers also, is that even a 30-foot span using this kind of lumber, and they're always the more expensive option.
Yeah, they are, and it's not a cheap solution. No.
Do we have any further comments, or are we ready to vote? No other comments. Anybody in opposition or would like to abstain from voting, or is everyone in favor? Just go around. Chad, say yay or nay.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Quentin? Yes, okay. Miranda? Meg? Yes, okay. And Aaron?
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. So yeah, we looks like it'll be a good project. We hope it goes well for you, Christian. And thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you for your time, and I'll work with Jennifer on the missing little bits and pieces.
All right.
Thanks, Christian. We'll be in touch. I did just email you the stuff on the NDDB information.
Thank you. All right. Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
night. See you.
Bye-bye.
You have to lower your camera just a little bit so I can see that cute baby.
I just caught the forehead in the last
I
time I looked at
know, we
you.
need more.
Keep it down there while he's being cute. When he starts screaming at you, I'll have to sit back.
Mesmerized. All right. So why don't we jump back up, if we could, to 4A, which is our old business on easement monitoring. So we were able to get out and do a few easements on November 7th off of in the Beacon Hill States area. We wanted to get more done. It was Will, Aaron, and myself, but we just we're either slow or we bit off more than we could chew and didn't quite get through. So we have some to return to. I was thinking this month, but just the way the month is playing out, I'm wondering if we could push it into early January, or I don't know, Aaron, and what other people are thinking. It seemed like a very unbusy month about a week ago, and now that's all kind of changed. So for me anyway, if other people wanted to go out in December, you know, that's fine with me. I don't think I'll be able to make it out there this month. So Aaron, you seem to be kind of an important person to have out there with the survey. What do you think?
I can make it out, but if,
Okay.
it just depends if other people can make it. I probably wouldn't do it on my own, but.
No,
Is-
yeah, we kind of, it felt like at least 3 people was
I think
a healthy.
3 is ideal because you've got someone doing a survey, someone with the map, and then someone doing the signage.
Yeah,
Kind of nice, but
yeah, kind of split things up and move a little quicker that way.
Are other folks able to go this month? And then I could see if Will's available. Who else were we missing? Or if anyone else wants to come, because I could.
I can try this month. I think I'm more willing to say, yeah, I'll probably be able to do something in January.
Maybe I should just do something like this, the weekend after New Year's. I can put something on the,
Is that like the
And-
8th and 9th, I think?
yeah, and Michael had suggested finishing up Beacon Hill 2, and then going across the street to the Dunnock. There's a small conservation easement across the street from Mansfield City Road, the kind of, so doing that one as well, if that makes sense.
If that, for me, the 8th and 9th would work.
works for me.
Okay.
Great.
Is that enough for a day probably for us, right? Or for a couple hours in the morning, I would think. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. It's fine. Some of these are fine, but when they have a lot of jogs and the boundary, that's when we start adding a lot of time of just trying to keep up with that. But I would say the 2 that we monitored were very well posted, and did we have any issues, Aaron?
We just had the one deer stand that was technically within the easement.
Or did we then figure out it was out of the easement, the way that boundary was?
No, it actually is on, it's on a tree with the sign, with the easement
Oh,
sign.
right. Right, but facing out of
was-
the easement, so they're shooting out of
Right.
the-
They're shooting out of the easement, yes.
Okay.
So is it on the property? If you guys can show me where it is, and I'll just send a letter to the landowner.
It was right behind that agricultural field.
It abuts the cone property, the tree farm. I can show you on a map, Jennifer, if you want.
Oh, if you just want to send it to me, and I'll follow up with them.
And just for one thing we also noticed, and I think I mentioned it, Jennifer, was the assessor boundary for that particular piece was I would say off by 50 or 100 feet. Usually it's off a little bit. And that's just something we have to pay attention to and not trust the GIS too much when we're out there. And fortunately, it was really well signed, so we knew where things were and didn't have to think we had a major violation of somebody, encroaching or something like that. So, okay. Okay, back to new business and 5A, our meeting schedule. I imagine these are 3rd Wednesdays, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Everybody could-
Just your usual. I did check it against the major religious and other holidays, so we
That
just
looks
need
good
a
for
motion
me.
to approve that, and then I'll file it with the clerk, and that will be your regularly scheduled meeting.
Can we have a motion to approve these dates for next year?
Before that, I'm just noting December 21st. So just because of the way the calendar falls, that's the third Wednesday of the month?
I think so. We could have made a mistake.
It does look like it. The 7th, the 14th, and then the 21st. So that will be the third Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I can make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. So Aaron and Chad seconded. Anybody opposed to this, or we're all in favor? Everybody in favor? Okay. So that passes unanimously. And jumping around again down to item 6, reports from members. Anybody have anything they want to report? Did anybody happen to attend Kakiwik, which was when Aaron and Will and I were out? No, we weren't. Sorry, that was
I
the next
did.
day.
I went for Janet Brooks's presentation, and then I did briefly the keynote, which was the meteorologist who spoke. I think you and I went together, Michael, or you were there at the same time, and it was about the different weather patterns and the increase in rainfall and less wind, more rain, longer periods of rain, flash droughts. You guys, I'm sure, are very familiar with the weather.
Yeah.
So flash floods, flash droughts. Yeah.
Did he speak to this past year in any specificity?
Yeah, he said we will be seeing more of what we saw. Just, it was interesting to me because they were talking about how much the wind levels have gone down. So, but the rain, there's so much more rain because the weather patterns just get stuck. So more rain, but less wind from as they've been tracking these things. So, and then Janet Brooks was good. I found her presentation, I felt this year was specifically more towards commissioners or like volunteer commissions, and she didn't go really much into case law or anything, new case law. So, but it was good. It was nice to be able to do that at home.
It's a different format for her, right? Where she gets to field a lot of questions. I mean, I'm sure she can do that still remotely, but it's a real conversation when she does it, when it's an in-person.
Yeah, she did a
workshop.
good job. She always does a good job to talk about the regulations and legal updates.
Let's have to get to that next year. Any other reports from anybody? Anything exciting or not exciting? Jennifer, thank you very much for this, the Yukon construction update. I'm just curious, where did that presentation come from? Or is that is that something that they're showing, not internally secretly, but I haven't come across that before. And it's quite extensive.
Yeah, Linda forwarded it to me. I think it was, we're meeting more and more with Laura Krushank, the folks over at Yukon monthly now. So I think maybe they just forwarded it, or maybe they are forwarding that just to us, but I'm not getting them. So, but yeah, no, I thought it would be interesting for you to see this.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there that I'm just interested in, or just not familiar with either. So it's just nice to.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just get to.
Can you hold it on that last picture?
There's Quentin over there. No.
The one that shows the drag line.
The-
I think yes, that one. I had a drag line create a pond for me where I lived in Massachusetts. in a swamp. And they're amazing things. And as you can see, they use the drag line to create the present Mirror Lake. And this plan that we have here has 4 huge tubes that they will fill with silt and let them sit there until they've drained, two near 195 and 2 more in the direction of what the fine arts place.
Mhm.
And I mentioned this to Basington, why on earth don't you just use a drag line? And of course, they're so fixed with their idea. This plan is the same one that was put forth under Yukon President Hogan some years ago. And I just don't understand why they can't use a drag line, spread the soil around the lake as they did originally, and smooth it out. It would be less expensive. All the polluted stuff that may be there from the road runoff would stay roughly where it is at present. And I'm sure they're much too committed to this plan, but to me, it makes no sense. It didn't before, and I don't think it does now.
Do you think it's like a remediation concern about leaving that material where people will then be recreating someday?
Well, it's not going to be that polluted, but
Yeah, I don't know.
the problem is when I bought some willow trees to plant in the fill where I made my pond, a few weeks later, I immediately went into that muck almost up to my hips. And so it does stay muck for a long time. And that would be a shortcoming, but they're going to be having these tubes of muck sitting there drying out for a long time. I don't know if I like the idea of the footbridge. The other thing I objected to or wondered about, they show a map of the, what was it? The Roberts Brook watershed versus the Eagleville watershed.
Oh, up here?
And if you can come up with that, wherever it is.
Up here?
There it is. And if you'll take a look at wait a minute. Yeah, okay. I can't very well point on the screen, but put your arrow on Duck Pond or Swan Lake. A little bit to the right of where you are, Swan Lake, right by the 2B. Yeah. That shows Duck Pond or Swan Lake in the Fenton River watershed, which it's not. Right, there's a dam on the west side, and that in the past always sent the water into Eagleville Brook. Now, more recently in the 1950s, they did put a second overflow outlet that goes into Roberts Brook. But certainly the watershed does not take the watershed divide does not take the jog shown on this map.
Is the one to Roberts lower than the one to Eagleville?
Not unless they've lowered it, right? It was an overflow. If you look at the pond or lake,
yeah,
you'll see on the east side this raised thing, and so presumably it's only when you have heavy flows that the overflow goes into Roberts Brook. Now, we also, right, all of the W Lot North Campus stuff and the Yukon Master Plan was going to take to relieve the sediment polluted pollution load on Eagleville Brook, the drainage master plan was going to divert it all into Duck Pond, Swan Lake, and from there into the public water supply watershed, meaning Roberts Brook to the Fenton. And one thing the Conservation Commission did was to point out the inappropriateness of doing this. And I still remember going to a meeting and explaining all this with photographs to Rich Miller, and he just smiled at me and said, it's a moot point. The DEP has already approved this plan. The Conservation Commission sent pictures to the commissioner of the DEP, and lo and behold, the next thing you know, this first item on their drainage master plan was put on hold. And they decided they would not have to divert it into the public water supply watershed, but they would compensate by doing a number of rain gardens and rooftop gardens and things like that. So unless they have fooled with the height of that outlet to Roberts Brook, the primary flow is still towards Eagleville Brook, right? Under pharmacy, under IMS and physics and all those. It's totally channeled and then comes out on North Eagleville Road next to the little convenience store. So I'd be pleased if the minutes could reflect the that area 2B. That the divide is much closer to a straight line through there.
I'm guessing that purple line distinguishing the watersheds, Quentin, is from the DEP's mapping. And, we've come across projects where a constructed reservoir is sitting on the wrong side of a line like that. I've seen that in 2 different projects we've worked on. And I don't know if historically or topography pushes it into one watershed or the other, but
well, I'm saying
I've seen it happen before, and I always thought it went to Eagleville, but I don't know the area like you do either. So
yeah, I mean, historically it went to Eagleville. There wasn't even an outlet until I guess it was 1950s. Would be my guess is when they put in the second overflow.
You had said there were 2 things you wanted Chad to reflect in the minutes. Was there another one, or
Well, the first one was just the idiocy of the way they're going about it, when a drag line would be much cheaper. And drag line and a bulldozer to spread the dredged material, which is exactly what they did in 1935. So that was point 1. And point 2 was the I'm kind of sensitive on this Duck Pond, Swan Lake flow because of what they tried to do to us before. And if indeed they have lowered the output towards Roberts Brook, frankly, I'd like to go after them. I doubt that they have. And, so that jog in the divide is simply not correct.
okay?
And
That
for what
raises
it's,
an interesting- Are they suggesting any changes to the output to Roberts with this?
no,
Okay.
but I
didn't think so, but
as I say, I
didn't
don't
read it.
like seeing it there. And this area of campus, right, with regard to impervious surface, you want to keep it below 10 to 12% impervious surface. And this part of campus, as I recall when I was doing that work, is like 33% impervious surface. I've had
Yeah,
my say. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. I know, Quentin, you've been paying attention to this for decades, so thank you. Thanks for your summary. Any other questions or comments on that? You know, there was something that from UConn also, the heap well monitoring, that is that in our packet from a few months ago? We sort of had a busy night, I think. They had given us their most recent report, maybe.
Did I
Jennifer?
include that in your packet last time?
I don't know. If I'll look at it, and if anybody wants to look at that, and if there's any reason to discuss it, I'm not sure that there is, but this just made me think of that. When I saw this, I realized that I never had a chance to really just at least kind of read through that. So if anybody wants to raise that, we could always bring that back. But we also have Jennifer, your report for
Just a few
11:15.
agent approvals, including your patio.
including my patio. Yep. Still working on it. Okay, well, for those of you who could make it tonight, thank you. I think our next meeting is what is it?
December 16th, I think.
December 15th.
15th, okay. Just an update for you. We're still, CMC Stores was supposed to be on they were supposed to give their presentation tonight, so we're still working with them. They're still going back and forth with Land Tech, making some changes to their plan. So once they're at a pretty much almost there, they will come and do a presentation, but they may not even be there till January because the public hearing, we're still in the middle of the Haven special permit application, so they may not open their public hearing till February. So,
Okay.
but we haven't forgotten. You will have the opportunity to comment on that.
Okay. Is there any is there any still movement on the zoning rewrite? I know we did some of it, and then there was an RFP to have somebody come in and help the town finish it. What's the status of that process?
That's
Project.
the Linda Paint. That's really in Linda's court, and it's pretty much on hold. There are a number of different things that we need to address in the zoning regs. I mean, we just passed our affordable housing plan, and there's a number of zone changes there. So yeah, there still needs to be a full, I mean, if nothing else, we need to reorganize them, make them more user-friendly, and go through it for recent case law, like the McKenzie case that doesn't allow waivers and things like that. So that's still on Linda. We're still trying to get to that.
It's a lot. I mean, what have we done so far, which is the zoning, I'm sorry, the subdivision regulations have been redone. Is that, oh no?
Nope.
But have some of them have been revised?
So there've been a few, you know, anyone can come in for a zone change. So there have been a few zone changes throughout, and those are, some of them are listed on that Mansfield development activity story map
Yeah.
that I brought to your attention.
But when we had the moratorium and the RRC was created to draft new zoning regulations, so that didn't actually turn into sections that were drafted and adopted.
No,
Oh, okay. There's quite a lot to do.
there have been
Onerous process.
like CMC did a height, you know, a height modification,
Mhm.
the little things like that. But in terms of like, there have been no, you know, in terms of putting multifamily in another area of town, or moving, like, say, the DMR, the design multifamily residential, out of the RER 90, that's still there. But with the Desegregate Connecticut, that whole group that has been meeting and working with the legislature, there is a push for looking at things like small lot, single family in certain areas of town, looking at more affordable housing, you know, ways to do affordable housing. We've done, like, for example, when someone does a multifamily housing project, they have to do 10%, 10% of their units have to be affordable. at 80% area median income, and then like half at 80% area median income, half at 100% area median income. So we were thinking of putting it up to 12% because we need, so all those kind of technicalities, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, my misunderstanding. I thought the RRC had generated some drafts that were sort of codified, but.
No.
Okay. Okay, sorry for that digression. I will make a motion to adjourn here at 8:01. I have a second,
I'll second it.
of course.
Jen, when you stop recording, I have an update from Will.
Oh, okay. I will stop recording.